and welcome to this episode of Season 3 of the Dr. Tech Show, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and often guests, including regular guests like Paul Clayton, talk about digital topics, including the world of online communications and digital inclusion, in a show which was the brainchild of digital storyteller, the late John Popham. And in our usual fashion, we ask about the weather. So let's start with you, Paul. Where are you and what's the weather like where you are?
Well, it's very changeable. It's been a bit bright just now.
And we've got you. Oh, yeah. No, we can't hear. We could hear you now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So it was very changeable this morning, but a bit grey, but it seems to be okay. A bit too bright for this for this show at the moment.
Whereabouts are you, Paul?
I'm in Southeast London.
Cool. And Sweyn, what about you? What's the weather like where you are? And you're on mute as well.
We've quite clearly been off for a few weeks.
Yes.
The weather is just not bright. It's bright, but it's not sunny, and it's reasonably warm in Kirkwall here in Orkney as usual.
And here in Birmingham, we have not cloudy skies, but very warm. I was out for a walk this morning in a short-sleeved dress, so it's very nice to be able to get out. And as you can see from my demeanor, I've been away exploring foreign lands, so that's one of the reasons why we've been off since the end of February. We had various activities going on, and we took a longer break than usual. But we're back now, and we will be on air again until hopefully the end of July, when we break again for the summer holidays for August. So welcome again to one of our very regular guests, Paul Clayton, who I've seen a bit more of since we last met as well. So great to have you again, Paul. And the kind of things that were happening in March when we weren't on air were the Charity Digital had their digital conference in London, Be More Digital, which was very well attended, and there was also a digital skills and inclusion conference online, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that as the weeks and months wear on. The Good Things Foundation looked at the digital living standard, as other organizations are looking at as well. We started planning the next Open Data Camp, which is coming to Wolverhampton in July, 1st and 2nd of July, for anyone who's interested. That's a separate group from this network, but it's one of the networks I'm part of. And also Paul and I met at the Tech for Good Organisers Retreat, the first time we'd met face to face, and that was a really excellent.
Lovely.
Yeah,
lovely.
it was very nice. It was in London, and it was in London, wasn't it, Paul? Yes, it was London.
It was East London.
East London. And it was people from all around the country, some of others who had never met before, and lots of people I knew and didn't know. And it was a really exciting event to bring all these people together who care about tech for good. Paul, how was it for you to be there?
It was very intriguing, because there a lot of people from charities and all sorts of different avenues. It was really interesting to meet a guy from Scotland, Roche, who I follow on Twitter.
Ross, yes. Ross,
yeah.
great.
Great.
Yeah.
Really interesting. And in general, the conversations were really interesting.
Yeah. It was non-conference format, Sweyn, which we know and love.
Yes.
And it was multiple sessions, and they were short sessions, 20 minutes, half an hour, I think, most of them. So it was, easy. There was loads of them and quite easy to take part. And Paul led a great session towards the end of the first day on, it was a Qigong yoga type.
Very
good. Yes.
Yeah, it was really good. So we need to do that.
Ross
as well.
has really shaken up and started Tech for Good in Scotland.
Yes,
recently.
He has. Yeah.
So it's great to see him plugging into the wider UK network as well.
Yeah, he's doing really well. He's doing lots of great things. So in March, as I say, I was away. In April, I was away then interrailing around Europe. I was thinking about going to Istanbul. I had my map here on the wall behind me, so I was hoping to head as far over as there. But actually, I got to Sicily after a week, and I stayed there for 2 weeks. It was just lovely. I really loved it, and it was a very enjoyable experience, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. 4 weeks I was away for. I was just talking to Paul earlier about one of the things that happened while I was away. I was in a small town in Sicily called Noto, a very historic town, and getting a bus back to Syracuse where I was staying, and there's a big sign, very official sign saying, if you want to get on this bus, any buses from here, you have to have a ticket, and the only way to get a ticket is to go online to this website and get a ticket. So I tried to, but the signal wasn't very good, and so I just decided to wing it and kind of throw myself on the mercy of the bus driver, and think that actually probably it's okay, probably they will have an alternative, and they did, of course. People were able to pay on the bus, so that was fine. And Paul, you were saying you saw something similar in France?
Yeah, it was. They were very pushy about insisting I get an app to do the ticket on some trains, especially as in coming out of Paris. Strangely, not so much actually on the metro, but when it came down to it, you could have just paid at the station.
Yeah.
I suppose it's all about encouraging as many people as possible to do it in the way that doesn't take time as you board the service. And
I think that's the idea, but if people are going to get excluded because they don't have a smartphone, or because they aren't able to access a website, if you haven't got connectivity, it's
you need a bit of confidence to actually attempt to just breeze up and pay right enough.
Yeah.
I think it was as well. It was about the actual conductor not having to carry cash. Actually just being able to take tickets and check tickets on the fly.
It does speed things up. I did notice there was a lot. I'm in a great Facebook group called Interrailing for the older crowd. So if anybody's thinking of interrailing, that's the Facebook group to be in. It's got 23,000 members, I think, now, from a very small start. It's only just over a year old, I think. Started by a woman called Melanie King, and it's actually one of the admins is Carol Musgrave, who we've also had on the show previously, a friend of mine from the Midlands, and she's a great traveller. She's in fact in Corfu at the moment, but she and Melanie do the moderating on this group. But we're all about sharing things on that group about how to overcome issues when you're traveling by train, all sorts of things. You wouldn't believe it. And people you have an app on your phone to the actual ticket, the Interrail ticket, and then you have to add journeys as you go along, and then as you add a journey to your ticket, it activates as a QR code, and then the conductor can just check the QR code. I did have to print off a few things because some of the trains I took were night trains, and I didn't want to be woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning being asked for my ticket and papers, so that made it a bit easier. But on the whole, I was on an app, and it worked really well. I mean, some people were finding that the app kind of disappeared; they weren't able to activate it, or they had to kind of restart their phones to make it appear again. But having a group where there's 20,000 people helping each other were really good. Some people are more active than others, obviously, as we know. There's always lurkers on social media. Some people who that's the group, Interrailing for the older crowd. They'll be delighted to hear that they've been mentioned on our program. So
well, my membership is pending now.
Okay.
Of that, because I intend to go Interrailing before too many more years, and I'm definitely qualified for being in the older crowd.
Yeah. Yes, you'll find very lots of fellow travelers there. It's really good, and it's international now. There's people. It started just in the UK, but now it's kind of wider. There are other Interrail groups.
It's one of these things as well, Interrailing, I think, where digital was made for it. I went Interrailing when I was 18 in 1984, and we had the Rough Guide to Europe, the book, and we had a list of things that we wanted to do, and really, it just, paper timetables, all sorts of weird. Imagine having all of that on your phone and just being able to really decide what to do just by clicking and finding the right apps. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. There was and I was in the fortunate position of being able to take advantage of the sale. They had a sale last year celebrating 50 years of Interrailing, where full price tickets were on sale for half price.
Oh,
and
wow.
50% is a great discount. So I got like an £800 first class ticket for £400, just over £400, which was great.
Wow.
I mean, you have to pay if you take certain trains, you have to pay reservations as well, and obviously you have to pay accommodation and all that. But it was well worth it. My siblings actually bought for me for a significant birthday present.
Oh, very good.
That was even better.
I remember when I was 18, we had no
yeah.
money at all, and to save on accommodation, we used to get overnight trains from the south of Europe to the north and spend a day in the north of Europe, and then that night get back on an overnight train and sleep on that train, in corridors or on seat. It wasn't even couchettes, just and honestly, after a week and a half of that, we were just completely zombified because we weren't sleeping properly at all, and every night nearly we were going thousands of miles south or north just to spend the day in our next. So it made planning the trip quite interesting.
I did the same in my 30s, arriving into cities in the morning. You'd rock up at the station, and then there'd be an accommodation, bureau of some sort at the station, and then you'd arrange your accommodation for that day. Now, these days, it's all, again, apps, Airbnb, booking.com or hosteling. And hosteling was my accommodation of choice most of the time. I stayed in some lovely places, must say. Highly recommend hosteling.
And now here you are back in the West Midlands.
Yes,
raring to go.
Yes, trying to plot my next trip. But glad to be back and had some great adventures. But Sicily for the win. I really, really, really loved it. Especially because you take a train from on the ferry. The train drives onto the ferry onto the island. It's an amazing experience, and the last of its kind in Europe. So highly recommend it. Sorry, Paula, are you an Interrail fan or trains of any sort?
I love the idea. I've not been able to get round to it. It's interesting, the irony though, that the cost of your ticket is not much more than me traveling to the northeast, really.
Yeah. Yes.
I know. If I was to come and visit you, Sweyn, I reckon the cost of your ticket, Pauline, would reckon just about cover it.
Yeah.
Well, how much was the ticket? Just remind us.
It was an £800 ticket. I got for about £400.
Yeah.
I got it for about £400. Yeah.
Yeah.
It cost me about 120 each time I go north.
Wow.
A lot. Yeah. And in some European countries, of course, I think in Italy, over 65s get to travel for free. So, they really make it a very nice thing to do. In Ireland as well, actually, that applies. So, yeah, we need to move to countries where we can travel for free.
Yes.
Where it's warmer some of the time. Okay, back to being digital. We kind of had a bit of a segue there, but hopefully our listeners will have enjoyed our little asides there. We're looking at some dates as usual, and this month, the 1st to the 31st of May, is Maternal Mental Health Month, which happens each May, where the spotlight is shined on maternal mental health, with the whole month being Maternal Mental Health Month, and it coincides with Maternal Mental Health Week and Day, which took place earlier in May. In many countries, as many as 1 in 5 new mothers experience some type of perinatal mood and anxiety disorder, PMD for short. These illnesses frequently go unnoticed and untreated, often with tragic and long-term consequences to mothers, children, and fathers alike. You can get involved in the chat around Maternal Mental Health Month on Twitter using the hashtag Maternal Mental Health Month. So there, for anyone who's affected or knows anybody who might be affected by that, please tell them about it. The next dates we've got is Learning at Work Week, Tuesday 16th of May to Monday 22nd of May. So today's the last day of that. And that's from the Campaign for Learning, which celebrates and organises this event. It focuses on our human capacity to learn, how we can be great lifelong learners, and the importance of connection and community for empowered people and dynamic organizations. The organization has been running activities shaped for their own context and needs and linked to the theme. And the theme for this year is Create the Future, and explores the learning and skills we will all need to shape and be fit for the future. Employees will have an opportunity to take part in workshops, talks, team skill sharing events, and more. It's been coordinated by the Campaign for Learning since 1999, and the primary goal of Learning at Work Week is to spotlight the benefits of learning and developments at work and build learning cultures at work. All types of companies and organizations take part, and companies have the freedom to plan events and activities to fit in with their individual business goals and employee needs. The yearly theme is meant to be inspirational rather than prescriptive, with companies given the freedom to interpret it in the context of their individual businesses. There are special webinars and free training taster sessions from a range of companies run in conjunction with Learning at Week work, and the details can be found on the Campaign for Learning website. So guidance is available. I mean, obviously it's the end of the week now, so maybe it's not so relevant. Maybe for next year, if you want to take part, do contact the Campaign for Learning. And this week is International Missing Children's Day. This is an awareness event that's observed every year on 25th of May to place a spotlight on the issue of child abduction, educate parents on safeguarding measures to protect their children, and also honour those who have never been found and celebrate those who have. It began as an observance in the USA in 1983. The date was chosen following the disappearance of 6-year-old Ethan Patz on 25th of May 1979 from New York City. International Missing Children's Day, which observed the same date, was launched a number of years later in 2001, is now observed all over the world. And it's run in conjunction with the Global Missing Children's Network, which formed in 1998 and has 23 member countries who all connect in order to share information and best practice, working towards improving the effectiveness and the success rate of missing children investigations. So on the day, International Missing Children's Day, there's a massive worldwide social media campaign where participants are encouraged to share images of those who are still missing on all forms of social media, as well as celebrating stories of those who have been found. So we hope that children do get found and that brings consolation to their friends and family. Okay, a couple of events. Today, the UK Digital Poverty National Delivery Plan was launched by the Digital Poverty Alliance, one of our friends in this space, and it's based around 6 missions to end digital poverty by 2030, emphasising the need for collaboration among government, industry, and local communities. And the 6 missions are: number 1, to increase awareness across society about the need for sustainable and strategic action to end digital poverty. Number 2, ensure affordable connectivity and guarantee full digital access for those in need on a sustainable basis. Number 3, improve standards of accessibility, safety, and inclusiveness across all digital products and services. Number 4, by 2030, significantly reduce the proportion of individuals without essential digital skills and ensure the sustainability and expansion of these skills in response to changing technologies and needs. Number 5, enhance knowledge and understanding of digital poverty among all stakeholders, including citizens, governments, and the public and private sectors through the development and utilisation of research. And number 6, increase local capacity to provide joined-up digital inclusion support to individuals and communities. So I think Sweyn has it on screen now, and I think this is the kind of thing that we, it's what this program is all about, really, being able to encourage and support that sort of missions. Paul, is there anything in those missions that speaks directly to the work that you've been doing?
Yeah, I've been creating a community tech support service that I'm very much focusing on at the moment. And it's partly accident that what it is. I've been doing something for 4 years. Sorry, let me digress. I've been doing something similar for 4 years with the community centre, whereby people just drop in, bring their issues. We give them time, we give them a chance to chat. It can get quite emotional sometimes because people are stuck. And then as a result, I've decided to try and extend this service to a completely different community centre with a completely different demographic, one that is actually quite situated in a quite a poorer place. And as such, we've done a pilot which didn't work very well, but these things are all about marketing and about being trusted, which takes time. I've also realised that the centre itself needs the tech support as well.
Right.
So I'm thinking it's a sort of a wider remit that I'm giving myself here. All of a sudden, I need to be helping the community centre with a sort of a tech support approach as a consultant, as it were, and then secondly to try and provide services to local people and letting them engage with that. But it's how that's done. There's a large Nepalese community around this community centre, which I would have no chance of engaging with. So it creates another issue in itself. You're fascinating stuff. I'm really interested. Yeah, there's the meeting in Leeds, I think this Thursday.
I was just going to refer to that. If I can cover that, Paul, and then we'll come back to what you were saying, if you don't mind. So on Thursday, 25th of May, is the Digital Poverty National Delivery Plan launch in person. Today's event, I think, was for the House of Lords, the launch. So Thursday is for everybody else, maybe. And also they're combining it with the Digital Leaders 100 2023 community launch, and that's at Leeds Central Library. And it's available to book on Eventbrite. And the community launch will set out a roadmap for how we can end digital poverty by 2030, following the closed launch, as I said, at the House of Lords today. So this plan provides a basis to join the dots, echoes of Freddie Queck, and unite the digital inclusion community around a common vision for change, building on the UK Digital Poverty Evidence Review 2022, which our friend Ciara Allman was a big part of. And so this sets out the necessary actions to ensure that everyone can use the internet to unlock a full range of social benefits. So alongside that event, they're launching the Digital Leaders 100 2023 list and opening the public vote ahead of the main awards at Leeds Royal Armouries on the evening of 22nd of June. The Digital Leaders 100 list celebrates the teams and individuals who are working hard behind the scenes to secure UK's digital transformation, and includes a £5,000 prize every year given to a grassroots organisation tackling digital poverty in their community. The Digital Poverty National Delivery Plan launch includes a panel discussion with cross-sector representatives chaired by Elizabeth Anderson, who's the CEO at Learning Foundation / Digital Poverty Alliance. The other panelists are Amy Hearn, who's the Senior Digital Inclusion Officer at 100% Digital in Leeds, Cameron Malik, the CEO at Disability Rights UK, and Julia Adamson, who's the Managing Director, Education and Public Benefit at BCS, the Chartered Institute for IT. And so, as I say, there's two events combined there, but it's great to see, colleagues working together to, bring this kind of event, not just in London, but to some part of the rest of the country. And I'm sure it'll be a very well attended event. So, Paul, you were telling us about your the work you're concentrating on now. For people who aren't maybe not familiar with your previous, and you've been on the show several times with us now, you're a long-standing guest. We're really glad to have you back again. Can you just remind people what your background is and the kind of things that you do on a regular basis?
Okay. Excuse me. I provide community level support and training for people. I've worked a lot with people with disabilities of all kinds, and I assist organizations when they need the help. But this is principally what I'm doing nowadays, or aiming towards anyway, because as a freelancer, it's really hard to actually get the people to understand the project that they need. They've generally approached me with an idea and what it is, that it's not necessarily the thing that may need to happen for them as well. So yeah, I help. I call myself a community ICT trainer.
Yeah, and I like what you just said about there's some history on the screen now from Paul's website, soulship.co.uk. I like what you said about you realizing that when you go to an organization to help people with, in a group session, say for ICT, you realize that the people who are supporting the community groups and the venue that you're in also need help with their digital skills. And I've found this over and over again, and Sweyn and I, we both have found this with work. And people, you want people to be able to help other people, but they need help to get on the same wavelength and the same page themselves, really. And it can be hard for them to admit sometimes that they do need some help, that they don't really understand, the help, the kind of what's going on themselves. And so how do you diplomatically say to somebody, I'm glad to be helping this group here, but actually I noticed that you guys need some help as well?
Well, I think that's always been hard to do diplomatically. I've had to be very professional and approach them in terms of, well, this needs to happen so you can make this happen. I think I'll use this story of the community centre I've been working with as a pilot as an example. I used to work in this centre about 15 to 16 years ago in my guise of UK Online, working for Greenwich Council, and they still had the hardware in a box on the wall. And all that was just chucked in was extra stuff that accumulated over time. The website needed some TLC. It needed their approaches weren't there. I mean, there was only a small amount of staff, but I noticed there was a lacking of volunteers, and that's very much what I'm interested in as well. So I sent a little email after the pilot had ended saying, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciated everything. I'd really like to come along to a team talk and put forward some ideas to see how I can help and how you can help yourselves. And it's tough because people invest time in this, there's all sorts of things that you have. You stand on people's toes unintentionally. So yes, I've just said, yeah, I'll come along. And I eventually managed to have a chat with the manager, who admittedly is not technology driven at all. He's very much from the school where he's managing a community centre, and that's his job. All the other things are just overlays and unnecessary. So yes, he said to me, yes, I'd really like you to come in and give us an hour of your time and give us some insights. We'll see where that goes. But yeah, that's all I can say, really. I think it's incredibly tough to be able to do that. I think what happens is that the community centre I've been working with for a number of years now, they had really problematic internet provision, but also they were surrounded by trees. So phones weren't really going to work either there. So they didn't have much choice in the matter. They had to actually improve their service and up their game. And it really was a game changer, just providing that level of Wi-Fi that was consistent with good backhaul. It created a whole new situation that made my job so much easier. The first year or so, it was incredibly hard to help people because of the signals and connectivity would be dropping and coming back. So I think, community centres are a very strange place at the moment in general, because there's, I'm actually talking about getting a group of community centres together to have a tech support service for them, which is quite an interesting approach. I feel that is really probably a good way to get around the diplomatic aspects and just have a professional front, having a service across a whole bunch of organizations to be able to help them. And there's a sort of a level of consistency, and they can also talk about me behind my back really easily. It's great.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be just you delivering the service then, that you'd have a group of people.
Yeah, that would be the ideal. What would happen, there would be a level of remote support as well as on site. But what would happen, I think that primarily it's about a consultation and an auditing approach first, being able to see what the issues are. And then giving them that level of independence or the structure. Sometimes it's just the questions to ask for a lot of people, the things that they need to know about. So yeah, that's the hope anyway. That's what I'm hoping will work as a much better mechanism.
Sounds very good. Sounds very organized, which I think is
thanks, Sweyn.
It does. I mean, it's easy to just kind of dive in, isn't it, and start saying we can do this, we can do that. And if you don't bring the volunteers along with you, then it's you're gonna fall off the path, aren't you? I think that was one of the things that with some of the schemes for distributing devices during the pandemic, that a lot of the schemes got right, is that they, as well as delivering devices, they were also training people to be variously called digital champions, digital this, digital that. But it was explicitly a part of the provision that the people who are offering the services, the volunteers, get trained in how to help their clients. And I think from what you said there, I think that's definitely another example that you're bringing now of that kind of approach. And I think it should be really successful. So I hope so.
Thanks. It's a vision.
Yeah.
It's a vision.
Yeah. No, but
I mean, conversely, I was chatting with a lady from MenCap who was drafted in to do that digital sort of provision and sharing aspect. And she was really interesting because she realized after the sort of lockdown periods had ended that there was a different type of need. The connectivity between people was to be in real life. So, and what was happening, she was there primarily as a digital person. So it was like a stepping back. That's what I found with an organization that I worked with. They didn't really need me after that point because they met.
Yeah.
But what she did was really interesting, was to give them the people that she was working with, they're young people with learning disabilities in MenCap. And they set up a video evening with volunteers to assist with the structure and getting things working. And it became so popular that they started owning it themselves. They set up their own videos. They would choose their own video. They would even make their own popcorn. They would actually become pretty independent, which is actually my goal. If you don't need me anymore, then I mean, it's a terrible working attitude, but
it's not a very good business model, is it? Really,
it's not great, is it?
It's what you're meant to work for in the charity field. Or work yourself out of a job. You know, don't be necessary. Yeah.
So that was a really great outcome, I felt, in terms of how to actually approach some of this. And I think with community centres, the less you hear from someone, the better that it's likely to be. Is what I'm also saying.
Yeah.
But volunteers, that's the game afoot at the moment. Is I'm finding that people with technology skills are great, but sometimes I'd rather teach the skills of empathy and listening.
Yes.
Very much so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They're the hard ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm still busy lobbying the tech companies to be more aware of the needs of their end users, really, because too many people are struggling with devices that aren't responsive to what they want. So I was at the West Midlands Tech Review launch at the University of Warwick last week, and it was great to hear all the presentations, and in actual fact, there was some awareness of the the gaps, the digital divide that exists. I was interested to see. I must share with you offline the slides that showed that some groups actually had more digital skills than others, including disabled people. In fact, this may be just for the West Midlands, but it's something like 68% of disabled people had essential digital skills, which is quite a high number considering, the kind of what we thought was the position previously. But they're all about profit, growth, making money, whereas our end of things tends to be about making sure that the people who need the technology get it and get the support. So it's the non-profit, it's the, we're not about making money, but we are about getting the skills and kind of services to people and devices. I mean, the West Midlands, I'm sure, like other regions, has had a huge number of devices coming into the area from government funded, and we're kind of busy thinking about how to get those out to people now. So I don't think it's the devices are not the issue, but it is about thinking about what the end user needs, and if the technology firms can think more about, making technology so that people can speak to the devices or some other easier ways that to manage things, then yeah, for me that's the direction I want to be taking people in. Which brings me to comp, actually, Paul. We had a chat about this elsewhere in social media recently, I think, and because somebody mentioned it to me. It came up at some other event I was at. I can't remember now, but you had some experience with the comp that you mentioned to me. Can you share that now?
Yeah. No, well, there's a couple of things. So I think I remember one of the people who were pivotal in the product on this show a long time ago.
Yes.
Yes, in the early days, yeah.
And I had a real valid interest, and I followed up on looking into it. And one of my clients, a lady I've been working with for some time, visually impaired lady, she was very much isolated because of having where she'd moved to, because she was having a problem with stairs. And she was given one by the social services in the area. And I was really pleased because, you know, on a few levels, because it was just dead simple and great. I think it was one button device, isn't
The
it?
one button, that's its big, it's his big
That's his
selling
big
point.
point.
Is
Yeah.
it's just one button and it just works. Yeah.
And but it was taken off her because they couldn't keep up the subscription or something, or there was some funding issue. And this was the big problem why I never recommended it to anyone else either, because it's a subscriber based product. And I understand what you get with that is the whole bunch of services and the tech support beyond what you're getting. But I always felt a little bit awkward if all of a sudden it just goes, then you've
yeah, I think that the marketing, the market that they were aiming at was not so much individuals as kind of care providing organizations that would kind of sign up for a certain number of them, and it would become part of it would become part of what the care or support service would be, and the subscription and the costs of running the network would get bundled in at that level. But you're right, if you're an individual and obtaining one for yourself, then that subscription will be a major thing, because there's no one there in the background to pay for it.
That's right. Can I add a little story to this, because this has a bit of a backdrop? And another device I actually purchased myself many moons ago, called the Breezy, and it was a Samsung tablet with labels. It actually had labels for the buttons. And I went to visit the developers, very interested in the product because it also had one button, and it was running Android, but with a launcher of its own. And it seemed that all you could ever find about this product was what the marketing people had ever written. Someone wrote to me saying that my review of it was the only thing they could find that was the most honest version of it. And it was a really great product, because what would happen in the background that offspring or carers or whoever could add to an address book in the background, and it was just used in, you know, functionally. Even Facebook was rebadged as a scrapbook. You know, it was just really great, and you could actually change it from one button to 3. And I was really taken with the idea. It was a premium product. It was £300, and then you paid a subscription for the service in the background, which I felt that was sort of appropriate in a way, because what would happen if someone improved? Thank you, Sweyn. That's amazing. And so I found this very shiny screen, as you can see.
Yes, we can see your face in the reflection.
Yeah, you
can. you wrote this piece in February 2017. So that's going back a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
And what had happened though, I was also I had a meeting with the council about this project, because they'd heard about this, and they were very interested in it, because they didn't realize that it was a one-to-one product. It was a one-person only product, and they were really looking for something that was multiple people. And it seems, I think, that the Breezy people got wind of this through various communications, because they ended up stopping this product and selling only to care organizations, and they just stopped, just turned around, completely disappeared. So it was really interesting how something that can actually work for people in a very individual fashion, but then because they see there's a greater demand elsewhere. I mean, I think the one-to-many approach is valid in some ways in a care home or a sheltered scenario, but
is that partly also kind of support, technical support kind of worry, that if you if your customers are a few large organizations, then the customer support situation is likely to be less complicated than if you've got your product out with thousands of individual people, all with special, their own individual needs. Do you think that was part of the issue, or
I think they wanted to recoup their development money,
yeah,
personally. I think what it is that they were so locked down and they were so standardized that there would have been very little to go wrong. There would have been only, shall we say, a subset of issues, say with the address book or this, that, and the other. It was all very defined. But I think when you talk about lots of people using it, then I think it would have created a whole bunch of bigger tech support problems. But then they could have asked for bigger money.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But thanks for that. Just the comp and the breezy have a sort of a similar.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a continuity line there between the two of them.
Yeah. Speaking of devices that are no longer supported or changed or whatever, Portal, which both Sweyn and I invested in season 1, probably when we first heard about it.
So.
My Portal is busily being a photograph display unit at the moment, and not much else. I have done a couple of calls on it, not recently, but that was something that Facebook launched and for individuals. But now I think they're not marketing in the same way. Sweyn, what's happening with yours?
I have hardly ever used it, I must admit. I enjoyed playing with it when I first got it, and I really should pass it on to somebody who could make use of it better than I do. Yes, you're right that they've realigned the marketing of the portal to appeal to people who are working at home primarily, rather than people who are trying to contact their friends and relatives around the world. I'm not quite sure if I haven't seen even that level of marketing very recently. No. I think they just saw another market after the pandemic that they could go after, but I'm not sure how successful they will have been on that. Yeah. So it's always a problem when you get a device like that that's produced by a large multifunctional organization that does loads of things. You're always at risk of them just saying, oh, well, we don't want to do that anymore. We did that for a year and a half, but it's boring. We're doing something else now. And Google and Facebook and all of them are very prone to introducing new things which are brilliant, and then suddenly deciding, well, no, not enough users, not enough revenue, not enough something, and stopping them. And I think that's what's happened to Portal, really.
It's a shame, because it was I had high hopes for it, but
yes.
Was it something that you ever looked at, Paul?
Well, I haven't actually bought one. I was really thinking.
I can send you one.
I still see the Amazon. Sorry,
I can send you one.
Oh no, thanks. Thanks for the offer. No, the Amazon Fire Video. That's still knocking around. You can buy various incarnations of that.
Okay.
And it's quite cheap. And I often wondered about its usefulness. I know that my own Alexa just got bricked one day with an update.
Oh, okay.
It was an early one, and they didn't really want to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I find Alexa very helpful. I have one here, and I have one in my. Oh, she's lighting up now because she hears or been mentioned. One in my bedroom, and it's just for Irish radio. I just have it on. Quickly switch on. It's really
it's a
really
fab
handy
device, because what it is, though, I read an amazing article about it that they've sunk billions into it, the whole thing, as a mechanism for buying stuff, but no one does that.
I keep lists. I do have it for lists, but I don't end up buying stuff. So
alarms, reminders, radio,
weather forecast,
all of that.
Packing lists.
A lot of people just don't want to be caught into buying stuff.
Yeah.
Alexa,
Fair
I really
enough.
like that sofa.
Yeah.
It's not going to really work, is it?
Well, I added to your wish list. No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not.
So I think there's some products that really do work, but not in the way that they've been intended. But it's I think it's a sinkhole that they can't get around. I think it's something that they've found that there is a value in it.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll drop that anytime soon.
No.
It's
got a
one of
sneaky
those,
feeling.
you know, when people design a housing estate and they put paths in certain ways, but actually the path that people want is the one that gets worn through the grass, and that's the path of whatever they call it. There is a
Desire
name for it.
paths.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Desire
So
paths,
people work
yes.
out their own, which is fine by me. That's what we want to hear. You know, that's what
I had
John's
forgotten.
Popham was all about, helping people to find their own way.
I had forgotten that the Alexa was originally designed to help you buy things.
It's interesting
not...
because the Google Home is really the Google product was really just about the smart home.
Yeah.
Contrast.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very odd how I like how people have carved their own way and sort of pushed for it to be kept, because now they've sort of invested so much in it that they can't.
They can't go back. No. Interesting. It reminds me of like, wow, how we work out how to use our technology for our own use. Those Ring and Hive doorbells and stuff like that, people are now using as kind of local, you know, neighborhood watch type situations where you can find people doing things they shouldn't be doing from your neighbor's technology. So, and I think people are helping sharing that kind of images. And
the police are also using them as a source of kind of rough and ready CCTV. So it's quite interesting.
I did also hear about Amazon grabbing hold of Ring video and using them to make their own content.
Yes,
that's a bit naughty.
A little bit.
Is that within GDPR or
no? I think that was the point.
Yeah.
Was it Italy or somebody fined them? Or am I thinking of a different story? I think they got called out on that by some national GDPR authority, because they were literally just making their own little showreels of funny things that had happened to people.
Right. Okay. Naughty. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. And
of course, there's all the stories about Alexa listening to you and people listening to you through Alexa. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can't imagine anything happening in this household that would be interesting enough to listen to, but there we are.
Which reminds me of the scam calls and stuff that are still coming through. My mum is, as I've referred to on the show before, somebody who kind of gets scam calls every few days, and she's had recently the WhatsApp message, you know, oh hi mum, this is my new phone one, but luckily we don't call her mum, so she knew it wasn't a real thing, but I just admire her. She's in her 80s, and you know, she's on it. She's kind of warns. She knows it when things aren't real, and she warns her friends as well. So she's kind of the key kind of digital expert, I suppose, in there. But she doesn't feel herself to be. She we've managed to persuade her to use a headset for the family Zoom call now on a Sunday, and it was really nice to see a picture of her on the WhatsApp with the headset on, and you know, oh, I don't think it makes any difference. Well, mum, actually, yes, it does, because you know, she seemed to be more active in the call last night than she had been in previous weeks. So we feel it does make a difference. It's something I could never understand when, you know, at the beginning of COVID and all during lockdown, why people didn't use headsets. You know,
drives me up the wall.
Yeah,
drives me up the wall. I don't know what it is that is the barrier.
Yeah, multiple.
Maybe it's a thing where they look like a DJ or look like a call center worker, or you're looking like something else, or it looks
okay, so back to the tech companies to make something more you know, more interesting, more friendly looking for people. I managed to invest in those not AirPods, the earphone, these are called. I got them before I went away on my trip. I didn't bring them with me in the end, but so I'm trying out ear pods for a change. And I've had several. Actually, one of the most useful pair I got was from Poundland. You know, we don't advertise here, but other shops are available. It was a Kodak set for $5.
Wow.
Perfect. Worked really well. So yeah, highly recommend.
I'm not fond of putting things in my ears. I was given a set of bone conducting headphones.
Oh, yes.
Unfortunately, it didn't work. I was really upset by that. I really wanted, because I don't. I like the concept. I think a lot of people are similar. They don't really want things in their ears.
I don't like.
And also it's when you're cycling or when you're out and about. you're vulnerable.
Yes.
But bone conducting headphones actually just let you hear everything as well. It's a very strange scenario.
So where does it actually go around your head to the bone conducting?
Wrap around.
Okay, back your head.
They
Okay.
sort of end up on your jaw.
Yeah.
Top of your jaw, just up here.
Wow.
They're quite fascinating, but it was a shame. I was really keen to try them out, but it didn't work.
Yeah. It's these kind of headsets that we all have on now are the ones, for me, are the optimal arrangement, because they're not in your ears, they're on your ears, and they have a nice microphone usually. So yeah.
And you can
I've been very lucky with headsets, because I've just gone on eBay and found these are very expensive headphones I've got on. I can actually connect to my phone at the same time as my machine.
Ooh, very nice.
Very fancy.
That's very nice.
And
like
got
that.
it for a very reasonable price. I think it's one of those skills again about being a savvy shopper that some people
absolutely
find hard to translate as well. It's a bit of a grind, but it's also, once you have some understanding of what's going on, that it becomes a little bit more fun. And then you're in the dangerous space of, well, it's a bit too easy now.
Yes.
But fortunately or unfortunately for us, there's always plenty of people who aren't where we are, and we need to help them to get come a bit more this way. So hopefully we continue to do that. We picked up a few stories. I don't want to miss out, because they'll we'll have more stories next week. So if we could just cover those in the last few minutes, is that all right with you both?
Yes.
Yeah. So one was from our good friend Dan Slee, who's runs Comms Camp, amongst other comms events, and a great Facebook group as well for public sector comms workers. But this is from I think his own blog, danslee.co.uk, and the title is "What AI Tools like ChatGPT Mean for PR and Communications." And we've all, I'm sure, been talking about ChatGPT. Well, if we haven't, we're not proper tech people. So the background is that in late 2022, the Microsoft-backed AI chatbot ChatGPT was released, and it plugs into 20 years of internet knowledge to produce solutions to tasks given it. So the difference between it and Google finds you the links to help you piece together the solution. Eventually, ChatGPT finds the solution and gives you with it gives you it with a bow tied around it. That's Dan's words, not mine. So he says, in this article, if you've earned your living from a knowledge economy, your job is about to be turned upside down, because what you've spent years working and studying for can be replicated in seconds by ChatGPT. And I know he's been organizing a talk about that, I think today, actually, in the Headspace group on
I think it was last week
on Facebook. Oh, right, okay.
Last week, yes.
So I know that he's been kind of looking at what other people are saying, and I know that in the charity world, other people are looking at how this might apply. In fact, I think Ian McClintock, who runs Charity Excellence Framework, is looking for help to develop his kind of work around AI in the charity sector. So I'll be talking to him about that at some stage. But yeah, it's. I mean, I've looked at it. I used it to suggest possible routes on my Interrail trip for somebody of my age, going whatever, going to certain countries, not going to other countries, blah, blah, blah. And actually it did come back with a reasonable route. So I can recommend it for kind of investigations. Have either of you had dipped your toe in it?
Yeah, I've been playing with it. I went and looked up a theory of change for South East London Digital Inclusion Company, which was pretty much a sort of standard affair, nothing surprising. But then I used it to actually talk about SoulChip, right? What it is, cite your sources, where am I also talked about. It's completely bogus, all of it.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing.
Good to know.
All made up.
Yeah.
All made up.
Yeah.
Even the sources it cited were incorrect.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just tend to feel it's sort of an amplification of rubbish in, rubbish out.
Yeah. Okay.
I think a lot of it. I have had a very small amount of playing with it. I don't know. I get quite bored of these things quite quickly. But as with everything else, there are use cases where it's going to be really, really good. It's just a question of, as you say, Paul, improving the input from rubbish to something better than rubbish, so that we can get something better than rubbish out of it.
Yeah, I tend to think that what happens is if someone can actually write a decent prompt, then they already half know what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
To be able to take something as a first draft. That's all they've done, is just shortened that first draft time.
I think that's a very fair summary. I think that if you don't know anything about the subject you're trying to learn from ChatGPT, you're at all sorts of risk of being told nonsense.
Yeah.
But there are certain functions in certain kind of business processes or sectors where having something to take something from your half-formed questions and put it into some sort of definite style, I think that could be quite useful. I don't think it's going to become sentient and take over the world, luckily.
No, absolutely not. But I think we do need to keep an eye on it and kind of see how it develops.
Oh, yes.
The next article that you picked up, Sweyn, was about Scottish Parliament launching digital education sessions for schools. This is from ukauthority.com. I don't have a let me see if I can go to it. Yeah,
I've got it here. It's basically the Scottish Parliament is beaming itself into classrooms all over Scotland by invitation.
Okay.
So they've had a long-standing kind of educational strand of you can visit the Parliament, or you can they will send people into schools, but they've decided to launch this new service, which is that you can have delivered via the Scottish Glow network, which is available to all schools. Basically Teams with a bit of management is how it works. And so they've decided to make these sessions available via that source. So you can connect your classroom to the Scottish Parliament. You'll get a bit of a walking tour around, and they'll be able to ask questions and receive information that way. I thought it was just a nice example of an institution offering a digital version, a slightly improved, slightly different version of something that they're already doing. I thought it was just a really nice story. It's not earth-shattering, but it's just a good step forward.
Cool. Another one you picked up was from Helen Bevan, who is a leader facilitator of large-scale change and professor of practice in health and care improvement at Warwick Business School, who wrote a tweet about that she's been writing about the critical role of tacit knowledge in change and improvement. She says that as much as 80% of the knowledge in an organization is tacit and undocumented, but this is the knowledge that's most likely to lead to big breakthroughs for innovation and improvement. So she is encouraging networks, communities of learning practice and sharing conversations to be set up to be more effective, and good practice repositories, portals, metadata, or search systems. Actually, she's references something written by someone called nickmilton.com as well from 2021. So she has a diagram showing the where the codified knowledge is above the water and the intuitive knowledge and know-how is kind of below the water. So explicit knowledge above the water and tacit knowledge below. I've got the diagram on screen now. Yeah, cool. Okay, and if we can just get in the last few before we close the show today. Oh, the Nick Milton references there. Yeah, the last one was one I picked up yesterday. Sad to say that 1 million in the UK, people in the UK are switching off broadband due to the cost of living crisis. And this is from a survey of by Citizens Advice. And they've actually accused internet providers of pricing out customers. After this survey found that as many as 1 million people in the UK may have cut off their broadband due to the cost of living crisis. Citizens Advice is warning that those on universal credit were 6 times more likely to have stopped their broadband in the last 12 months due to the cost of living crisis compared to those who have not received the benefit. So they're calling for the better promotion of social tariffs. Separately, Ofcom figures revealed that just 5% of those households eligible for discounted social tariffs were using them, meaning more than 4 million UK households are missing out on savings of up to £200 a year. And this comes after a warning from Citizens Advice that mobile and broadband prices could rise up to 17% this year. So that's a worry for all of us. The charity said that its survey showed that broadband an increasingly essential service was becoming out of reach for a greater number of households. Dame Claire Moriarty, who some of us will know from UK GovCamp meetings previously, she says that people are being priced out of internet access at a worrying rate. Social tariffs should be the industry's safety net, but firms' current approach to providing and promoting them clearly isn't working. So not good to hear that. And maybe we'll get Claire or somebody else on the show to talk about social tariffs. Yeah. We can certainly invite her.
Noticed that my local council has a whole page on cost of living that's gone up quite recently, but I searched all the way through it, and although there's lots of great advice about electricity, we don't have gas here, and various other energy saving ideas, there didn't seem to be anything at all about the social tariffs. And it's on my list of things to do, to email someone and say, could maybe add that? Good. So that's maybe something that we can all do around the country, is look at the advice that's local to us and see if it includes information on the social tariffs, because it should be there alongside, how to better afford your other utilities, because that's what it is now. Yeah,
I'm just looking at Freddie Quicks joining the DOTS dashboard, and actually social tariffs doesn't appear to be on his dashboard. So maybe we'll have a word with Freddie as well to add that to his excellent dashboard.
I think it's just getting to the stage where we truly do accept broadband and mobile coverage as a kind of utility alongside water, electricity, and other essentials of life. I think we just need to take that one more step into that situation.
Yeah. Paul, have you got anything to add to that before we close?
This has been what Sweyn just said. Is a 20-year-long argument, I think, or
it is
discussion, and I'm really concerned at the lacking of how councils get approached to be smart cities, but don't indulge in communal Wi-Fi. And what I find as well is there's a sort of a dissonance. You close job centres, you make job seeking an online activity, and then people can't actually afford online access unless they go to a communal space. It seems all a little bit mismanaged and not really joined up at all.
Absolutely.
Yes,
definitely. I could say a lot more, but
yes. We'll carry on the conversation elsewhere as well as on here. Thank you very much, Paul, for joining us again today. Always great to see you and benefit from your expertise and knowledge and your great storytelling. If people want to follow up and find you online, where's the best place to find you these days?
Well, Comfortably Digital .org.uk is my new venture.
Okay, great. Encourage people to follow up with Paul.
Have a look over there.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much, both of you, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Okay, take care. Bye-bye. Have a good week.